The City of Phoenix estimates a budget surplus of $80 million in the next fiscal year that starts July 1st. But no one at City Hall is particularly excited. That's because the city's financial future looks a lot less rosy the following year. To discuss what's going on, we're joined by Phoenix City Manager Jeff Barton. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Christina.
Let's start with some math. So you have estimated, projected an $80 million surplus for the next fiscal year that starts July 1st, but after that, it's going the opposite way.
Correct.
What are you predicting? I know that's a wide range.
It is. So we do a multi-year forecast. We've been really adept at doing that for the past couple of years. It helps us with council and helping guide them in making smart, strong, strategic decisions from a financial perspective. So like you said, we've got an $80 million surplus next year, which is mostly consisting of one-time money. And it's really important that I emphasize that. But then 2 years after that, because of what the state did to the city and removing the provision for us to collect rental tax as well as the flat tax, the impact of the flat tax, we've got a deficit that's going to be a midpoint of about $92 million in fiscal year 25-26. And then 26-27, we've got another shortfall that's roughly about $32 million.
So there are a couple of things that the city blames, for lack of a better word, the state for when it comes to the shortfall. And one is that starting in 2025, the calendar year 2025, correct, cities can no longer charge sales tax on residential rents.
Correct.
And how much do you anticipate that being a loss to the city?
On an annual basis, it's about $83 to $85 million a year. It grows as the economy grows, and not all of that is general fund. About half of it is our general fund. The rest of it supports other things that voters have voted on, like the Parks and Preserve initiative and our public safety, police and firefighters.
So the mayor and some other people have been lobbying state lawmakers in hopes of delaying the implementation of that ban. Now, someone could say, but you all knew it was coming, right? So it shouldn't be a big surprise.
Well, I guess I would say that's partially true. We knew it was coming after we've already adopted our budget last year and after we already made commitments to our residents as well as our employees in terms of how we're going to compensate them. So it's like, you adopt a budget at home and then someone pulls the rug from underneath of you, and that's exactly what the state did to us. We made commitments to our employees, we made commitment to our community in terms of the service and the level of service that we were going to provide them, and then the state essentially took $130+ million annually from us.
So in addition to the ban on the sales tax for residential rent, there was a change in the state income tax moving to a flat tax rate, and that also impacts your revenue.
Correct. It's about $35 million next year and about $40 to $43 million after that.
Some people may have heard that the city has received a lot of funds from the federal government since during the Trump administration, during the Biden administration, all related to COVID, either rescue dollars or relief dollars. I mean, something like $400 million, like it's a lot of money. And so somebody might see that big pot of money and say, well, why can't you just use that?
Well, we've got $396 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, so very close to 400, Christina. You could work in budget and research one of these days. That money is really tied to being able to be used on COVID-related expenses. And so you can't use it really to replace lost revenue, especially revenue that wasn't lost because of COVID. And so what we're facing right now is a revenue shortfall because of what the state did to us, not because of anything that COVID did to us.
So that COVID money, that federal funding, so people understand, must be used for certain things that are connected to COVID, which is why you
either connected to COVID or you're enhancing your neighborhoods, like depressed neighborhoods and things of that nature.
What are you doing right now in terms of going through each department's budget to prepare for? I mean, it's tough to prepare couple years in advance, but you've got to.
It is. Yeah, the good thing about our multi-year forecast is we've got some time. We've got about 18 to 17 months to really make these decisions, so we don't have to act haphazardly. We've got time to be strategic, and so that's what we're working on now. Like I say, next year is balanced, and so what I'm going to do on March 19th when I bring the city manager's trial budget back, I'm going to request that my council allow me to put that $80 million in reserve so that it gives me at least a little bit of a glide path as I try to balance 25-26. And then next year, around November to December timeframe, we'll ask departments for possible reductions. We'll also talk to council about possible revenues. Because again, to balance my budget, you either got to reduce your footprint by cutting cost or increase your revenues to offset those costs.
When you talk about increasing revenues, is it too early to talk taxes? And here's why I asked, because there was was it last week? I think you updated council on the budget situation, and one council member couldn't even say the word tax. She said the three-letter word. Yes. That was the language that she used.
Yeah, I think it's too early. I think, we've got time. Like I said, this isn't until July 1st is our projected shortfall, July 1st, 2025 budget year. So we've got ample time to make some decisions. And I think where we are with our council right now, we're going to look at different options. We're going to reserve this $80 million at my request, the council. That also gives us a glide path. And then, we'll see where we are from there.
So you make recommendations to the council. So your recommendation is, let's hold that 80 million, let's not spend it. But I know that during the public outreach process for budgets, people show up, and lately it's been people want pickleball courts, and certainly other things too, expanded library hours and those sorts of things. Isn't that going to be tough to say to people no?
It will be tough, but I grew up in audit and I grew up in the budget and research department, so no is probably the easiest thing for me to say. But I think what we really have to emphasize to our residents is that this budget is about protecting the services that you have now and not having to infringe or reduce those services. And that's going to be the message. And we've added a lot over the last 3 years, and now it's time to protect those services that we've added the last 3 years.
So next step, March 19th, is when you're going to say, hey, here's how things look for the upcoming fiscal year and the one after?
No, we really do a one-year budget at a time. And so we'll start our process. So March 19th is when I present the trial budget for fiscal year 24-25, which runs July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And then we go out to our community budget hearings, as you mentioned, from April 2nd to April 16th.
All right. We'll be following. At least I will, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Of course.